Thanks, Reyes. Good morning. It is 7 o'clock. More women are coming forward with shocking claims of sexual abuse against former CBC radio host Jian Ghomeshi. The only woman to identify herself publicly so far is actor Lucy Descochères. She is one of the stars of the Trailer Park Boys. In an article with the Toronto Star, she accuses Ghomeshi of choking her to the point where she could no longer breathe and slapping her hard 3 times on the side of her head. Toronto Star reports Ghomeshi has been accused of abusive behavior by a series of anonymous women over the past few days, and there are reports suggesting Ghomeshi will be making a statement later today on the latest allegations. Surrey RCMP have made an arrest in a series of assaults. Now they're releasing a picture of the suspect in the hopes of finding more potential victims. 35-year-old James Henry Redman faces several charges in connection with 3 alleged attacks on women. The investigation began earlier this month when a sex worker flagged down an officer after escaping an assault. Very concerning story out of North Vancouver, especially for parents. RCMP are looking for a man who exposed himself to young girls. He drove up to 3 teens on Tuesday in 2 separate incidents around Ridgewood and Edgemont. The man allegedly offered cash in exchange for sexual favors while exposing himself at the same time. The girls ran off and were not physically harmed. Suspect is 25 to 35 with olive skin, a slim build, short black hair, and a beard. He was driving a box-type Jeep, reddish maroon in color. Downtown Vancouver residents have big concerns about a new homeless shelter. Many feel they weren't all answered last night. At a meeting, dozens turned out and were turned away from a packed meeting at that hotel on Howe Street. Neighbors have concerns about the impact it will have on their neighborhood. They complain about a lack of consultation. The city is leasing the Quality Inn off the Granville Street Bridge using 157 rooms for temporary housing. The homeless will stay there until it is demolished in 2 or 3 years.
I've got a family. My obligation to them is to protect them, and I don't feel like the 2 issues that I want addressed is the transparency. How was this decision made in our neighborhood without telling us? There was no consultation. And secondly, safety in our neighborhood. We've got elderly people, we've got schools in the neighborhood, we've got business owners, we've got residents.
A second community meeting is being held to address the concerns of the people turned away from last night's gathering. Protesters are back on Burnaby Mountain this morning following a day of full confrontation. But Kinder Morgan opponents say they are achieving what they set out to. Greg Harper is live in Burnaby and brings us the latest. Greg?
Good morning, Jody. Yes, up here on Burnaby Mountain this morning. Behind me are some pipeline opponents, protesters here. They've had this camp set up for weeks now. Yesterday, at one point, there was 30 protesters at least that were here. Others scattered themselves throughout Burnaby Mountain. They were watching, they were waiting for a Kinder Morgan survey crew to arrive. When they did, this is what happened.
Invader! You'll be met with confrontation every time!
While Mounties kept watch, a Kinder Morgan survey crew entered Burnaby Mountain. The company is wanting to twin its Trans Mountain oil pipeline and has resumed survey work to see if a new pipeline route is feasible. But protesters yesterday managed to limit the amount of work that was done. One activist even attached himself to the bottom of a worker's vehicle.
This right here is unceded Coast Salish territory, and if there's going to be a pipeline here, another one, that will affect the direct community. It will affect the environment and further climate change.
Police eventually took the 18-year-old into custody. There's no word on if any charges have been laid. The National Energy Board has ruled that Kinder Morgan can access the land here to do survey work. The city of Burnaby is appealing this. Looks as though this protest, Jody, is far from over.
Indeed. Thanks for that. Greg Harper reporting live from Burnaby Mountain this morning. Thanks, Greg. Police will try and figure out what possessed a man to attempt crossing one of the most dangerous stretches of road in Metro Vancouver. The man was killed while trying to run across the upper levels highway near Capilano Road yesterday afternoon. He reportedly made it across the westbound lanes, but was hit when he crossed into the eastbound section. The driver of the car that struck him stayed on scene. The accident caused traffic backups in the already very busy area. An elderly person is in hospital in critical condition in Richmond after an accident involving a pedestrian. The person was hit at Minaroo near Alderbridge during yesterday's afternoon rush. The area was closed for several hours while the RCMP's crash reconstruction team investigated. Police are investigating a crash in Vancouver that sent one person to hospital with a broken ankle. It happened at Granville and 57th Avenue last night. A gray Kia was attempting to make a left-hand turn when it was struck by a southbound vehicle on Granville Street. That car then ended up in a neighbor's yard.